Hey, how you doing? Scott from Scott's Bass Lessons here. Hope you're well. If you haven't been to scottsbasslessons.com yet, make sure you do so straight after this lesson, because you're going to find hours and hours of free videos, bass lessons on there. And if you subscribe as well, I'll also send you exclusive content that only my subscribers get, and you'll also get free other goodies as well. Today we're going to be talking about slap bass. And it's something I've got a bit of an issue with teaching sometimes, because so many people get stuck in what I call the slap void, and they just get so, it's because it sounds so cool, you know, slap does sound cool, but you've got to make sure that whatever you're playing relates to your knowledge on the fretboard, and it isn't just something that sounds cool. You know, you should be always looking into why it sounds cool, what chord tones are being used within that groove and that kind of thing. And I do teach a lot of clinics where there'll be a lot of guys, you know, playing slap bass, and all the riffs they're playing are in the key of E. And I'm sure you know what I mean. You know, I'm sure you know a slap riff, and I'm sure it will be in the key of E probably. And it's really important that you learn how to play it in different keys. For instance, when I'm doing these clinics, if I just, you know, if I can shout out over the din to everybody, over the noise, can you play any slap riff in the key of B flat minor or C minor, for instance? Everybody just stops, because nobody can actually play any other slap riffs in any other keys. They can only use that open E string. So today we're going to be looking at a slap riff specifically in the key of C minor. Now, before I show you the riff, I just want to look at some C minor arpeggio notes or chord tones, whichever, you know, it's the same thing. So the position we're going to be using within the riff is going to be around here. It's the 5th to the 8th fret, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's around this area. So we need to familiarise ourselves with the chord tones in this area before we start playing the groove. So here's the arpeggio really slowly, okay? So we've got a C with our little finger, an E flat with our second finger, a G with our first finger, a B flat with our little finger, and then finally a C with our first finger. So that, just once more: C, E flat, G, B flat, C. And also we can use this B flat down here, because that's the B flat there. We can use this one down there. And then there's a C, and we can also use this E flat here. Okay. Now the riff, I'm going to play it without the backing track first so you can hear it in its entirety, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you can see I'm kind of using all of the chord tones that are under my fingers, and I'm even sneaking over here as well sometimes. And that's because we've got a C minor arpeggio here, which is C, E flat, G, B flat, C, and then it just starts repeating itself, C, E flat. But within that riff that I'm playing, I'm actually playing a D as well. But we're going to get to that in a minute. So let's break that riff down into small sections so you can see what's going on. And there's something you should really take into consideration as well, technique-wise, is when you're playing slap, it's the right arm motion that's really important. You don't want to be doing this. It's not sort of like an up and down motion like this. The motion comes from the elbow and is more of a twisting like this. Imagine you're sort of like grabbing a doorknob and twisting it like that. It's that kind of movement that I'm making. It's obviously not as big as that. It's like really, really small movements like that. But that's the movement. So if I play here, you can see the rotation of the arm. It's not this, which it's a rotation. So you want to make sure that you're rotating like that. And all I'm using is the thumb, and I'm using the index finger. for this particular riff. Sometimes I do use the middle finger, but for this particular riff, I'm just using the thumb and the index finger. And also something to take into consideration is imagine a acoustic guitar player strumming. He's always got that strumming motion in his right arm. And this is exactly the same as what I'm doing when I'm slapping. My arm is almost constantly going, and then I'm just picking out the notes that I want to play. I'm not kind of going thumb, thumb, pluck, pluck, thumb, thumb, pluck. It's constantly moving like this. I'm going to play the riff really slow before I break it down even slower for you. But here it is really slow, and I want you to concentrate on my movement of my right arm and how it's constantly like this. Okay? 2, 3, 4. See how it's constantly moving? Okay, constantly moving. Now let's break this riff down into learnable sections. And that's really important when you're learning something like this. Don't just jump in and attack it, rah, you know, trying to do it all at once. Try and break it down into learnable sections. By doing that, you're going to have so much more, you know, it's such a better chance of actually getting it clean. The way you play it's going to be nice and clean. If you just jump in and try and do it all the time, generally it'll be a little bit messy, a bit rough around the edges. So let's break this down into nice little learnable pieces, okay? So the first bit is a hammer-on from the B flat to the C. Now in relation to C minor, that's the flat 7 to the root. And with the right hand, all I'm doing is thumb, hammer, thumb, okay? Thumb, hammer, thumb. And then we've got, and I'm plucking and holding the B flat down with my little finger. And that's kind of the first bit of the riff. Like I'm cutting these short, and you can do that, you know, I could leave them long, or I could cut them short. I kind of like them short. When you're trying to learn a riff like this, sometimes it really helps just to loop a little section of it down, around. So let's try that. Now the next section is a slide. Now remember, we've got to think about what the riff is in relation to the tonality that we're playing over, which is C minor, okay? So I'm kind of sliding into the minor third, remember? Here's the arpeggio. I'm sliding in to the minor third and then plucking the octave. So here we go again. So it's a, and that slide's a really big part of the riff. So thumb, slide, thumb, pluck. First part. And if you listen to that, them two sections, there's a little bit of some ghost note in between that as well. Hear that? Remember I talked about that constant movement? That's why it's there, so I can pick out the ghost notes in between the actual riff. Now the next part is really similar to this part. It's all it is second finger and hammering on with the third, and then I'm plucking that E flat under there as well. Yeah? So really slowly through the entire thing. First section. Second section. Third section. And again, first section. first, second, third. Now there was a cool little riff I did as well. So, and it's like a little fill, and I'm going to put that in right now just so you can hear it, and then we'll slow that down as well. Okay, so here's the riff in its entirety, and I'll put that little fill in as well. Here we go. Okay, that's a... Now remember I talked about this C minor arpeggio here, and that's where this is coming from. So it's the 7, the flat 7 of the C minor, thumb, hammer, thumb, and then I'm plucking on the E flat, and then sliding down to the D, and that D is that, you know, real sexy note, that's in the 9th. And then I'm sliding up from the 13th of the C minor. We're getting complicated now. The 13th, you could think of it as the 13th, or just a sliding, you know, a kind of passing note to the 7th of the C minor. Okay, so that little riff there is, oops, really slow. And it fits into the riff like this. Here we go. And again. So let's hear the full riff up to speed. So now let's take a listen to this groove with the actual backing track. Now if you want to download this backing track, just if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the link below. It'll take you to a page. On that page will be a video, and right underneath the video it will say something like download backing track. If you're watching this on Scott's Bass Lessons, just look there below the video and there's a little link you can download this from. Download it straight away, and you can get a little PDF on there as well, which will take you through part of the riff. Let's take a listen to the riff. So now you need to get the information I've given you and put it into your own playing. A great idea is just to get, you know, a normal slap riff that you normally play and try and transpose that into a different key. That's a great way to get started. Although sometimes, you know, they just don't lend themselves to it because you're using the open string and then you're playing up here. So, you know, it'd mean jumping around like a crazy man. But, you know, go through your riffs, see if there's anything that will transpose and give it a go. With this specific riff that we've done today, that can transpose as well. This is the great thing about bass. If you learn one thing in one area, you can just shift it around. You know, we've got it in C minor here. I could do it in B flat. D. E flat. You know, you can just shift it around. That's what the best thing about guitar and bass is. The transposing is so easy. So next time you're in a situation, you're playing with a band, you may be in the key of E flat minor, you're playing, you think, oh God, it'd be great to do sort of like a slap kind of riff on this kind of thing. You know, try and use the chordal tones to figure out where you can actually, you know, if you can put a slap riff into that song you're playing. Some of this, it does need a little bit of practice. It was something I had to work on when I was younger. You know, I was one of them guys, you know, I could just play in E. And then one day I just thought, wow, I really want to play in, it was a tune I think in G minor or something. I really wanted to play a slap riff on that. And that's when I realised that I needed to do a little bit of work and work out how to play slap bass across the entire instrument and not just in the key of E or E minor. Hopefully you've enjoyed this lesson. If you have done, which I hope you have, click the like button below. It really helps spread the word about my lessons. And don't forget, the backing track is downloadable. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link straight below this video. It will take you to my website. You'll be able to download it from there. If you're watching it on my website, it is right underneath this video. And other than that, make sure you subscribe to my website because I'll send you loads of cool goodies. Take it easy and get in the shed.